Hello everyone and welcome to this video on collocations. Now, do you want to sound natural like other native speakers? Do you want to write naturally so you can score a high band score? Then collocations is one of the key things that you need to work on. They are the difference between someone sounding like a native speaker and someone sounding like they're learning English. That's why they're important, and that's what this video is all about. So, what exactly are collocations? Well, they are a set of two or more words that naturally fit together. The hard part, though, is knowing which words fit together. Here are some examples. Just say out loud which of the words you think naturally fit together. Is it quick food or fast food? Fast food. Natural disaster or natural tragedy? Natural disaster. Perform murder or commit murder? Commit murder. Surf the internet or sail the internet? Surf the internet. Get a haircut or receive a haircut? We get a haircut. And is it recent advances in technology or recent increases in technology? Advances in technology. So actually all of those combinations are grammatically correct, but they don't really sound right to a native speaker. There is something just a bit awkward about the alternative words used there, and native speakers will know immediately that you're not a native speaker if you say things like quick food or sail the internet or receive a haircut. So obviously we need to use correct natural collocations in our essays to improve our lexical resource band score. Now let's take a look at some collocations in use. Let's have a read of this main body paragraph. The natural environment continues to be worsened by the human race. The wrongful chopping down of trees in natural rainforests and the release of greenhouse gas are two of the top causes of this. Unfortunately, humans present no indication of travelling towards sustainable progress. For example, in China, the quickness of deforestation has rapidly increased by 27% since 2015. Now I'm going to read you an alternative paragraph, and I want you to decide which of the paragraphs sounds the most natural. Here's the second paragraph. The natural environment continues to be spoiled by the human race. Illegal logging of natural rainforests and greenhouse gas emissions are two of the leading causes of this. Unfortunately, humans show no sign of moving towards sustainable development. For example, in China, the rate of deforestation has rapidly increased by 27% since 2015. Now, for those of you whose English is quite well developed, you will immediately be able to spot that the second paragraph is the more natural of the two paragraphs. The language used is, well, it contains more collocations, which makes it a lot more native-like. Let's have a look at some of those now. The first phrase in the first paragraph that is not a very good word selection is worsened by, and that can be changed to spoilt by. Then we've got the wrongful chopping down of trees, which of course should be illegal logging. We've got the release of greenhouse gas, which should be the greenhouse gas emissions. We've got top causes. A better collocation is leading causes. We've got humans present no indication of. humans show no sign of. We've got travelling towards, we've got moving towards. You don't really travel towards a different way of thinking, you move towards a different way of thinking. Sustainable progress, sustainable development sounds much better. Quickness of deforestation sounds very awkward, should be the rate of deforestation. So in the first paragraph, whilst the vocabulary is actually quite good, and there are some subject-specific vocabulary words in there. For example, yes, you do chop down trees. That's a specific vocabulary for the environment. But it's not as natural as saying illegal logging. Also, release of greenhouse gas. Grammatically perfectly correct, but it's not as natural as saying greenhouse gas emissions. Again, top causes, leading causes, and so on. So it's these more natural word combinations that you need to move towards, because some students can work really hard to learn a long list of vocabulary, but if they don't learn how to use those words naturally together with other words, then the IELTS examiners will be able to see this and they'll mark down your use of vocabulary. So it's really important that you do as well as you can with collocations. Let's have a look at some ways you can improve your use of collocations now. So the first thing I'd like you to do is to immerse yourself in English as much as possible. This simply means reading, writing, listening and speaking as often as you can in English. Use what I call dead time. That's any time where you're not doing anything useful, such as waiting for a bus, in a taxi on the way to work, or standing in a queue. Use that time to watch a news report in English, or read an article in English, or read the next chapter of your book in English. The more you can expose yourself to the language, the more you will pick up these natural phrases and you'll increase your ability to know what just sounds right in English. Remember, it's what just sounds right. It's how does the language feel? Does it feel as though it's the correct phrase? Does it sound the way that a native speaker would say it? You need to develop that ability, and using as much of your dead time as possible can help you to do that. Next, I want you to learn in chunks. When you learn a collocation, don't think of it as 2 or 3 separate words. Think of it as just one phrase. You can learn one thing much more easily than 3 separate words. So thinking in chunks and learning in chunks increases the speed at which you can learn, or certainly makes it easier. So think about learning these collocations as one item that you need to learn. Next, you need to make use of the news websites that are on the internet. BBC.com is a great example of this. It actually has a Learning English section which I recommend you go and look at. Look at it daily. In the news websites, they use collocations all the time, and because they're often quite formal publications, this means you're using or you're learning language that you can directly transfer into IELTS essays. This is a fantastic source of collocations that you can use. So don't be afraid of making lists of collocations from these news websites, and you might want to turn them into spider diagrams or mind maps. You could create one mind map for each of the different IELTS topic areas. Even if you just learned 10 or 12 collocations for each topic area, that would have a dramatic impact on your overall vocabulary score. Another thing you can do is read books. Read as many books as possibly can. Young adult fiction books tend to be quite good for second language learners because the vocabulary isn't perhaps as hard as you would find in some of the adult books. So if you find the adult books that you pick off the bookshelf in the main bookshops difficult, have a look at the teenage books section. There's some really good stories written for teenagers with slightly lower level vocabulary that may help you if you need it. Next, listen to audiobooks. They're growing in popularity, and there are several good websites selling or giving away audiobooks for free. But one site that's really worth mention is the TED.com website. TED Talks are fantastic for learning collocations, and I'm sure you've seen the website, but if you haven't, it's where guest speakers give lectures and you can watch them give their lecture or presentation. And if you click the button transcription underneath the video, you'll see the words they're saying as they say them. So you can read it and listen at the same time. Now, this is really good because you can copy how they say the words as well, so you can also learn the pronunciation of the words. So you can repeat the words or sentences after the speaker has said them, and you can pick up the intonation that they're using. So this is excellent for your speaking part of the IELTS test as well. It's also great for spelling because you'll see how the words are actually spelt as well as obviously seeing what collocations or which words fit together naturally. And finally, converse with native speakers whenever you can. It could just be talking with your teachers, or even some websites you can speak for free with native speakers in exchange perhaps for money or for teaching them your language. They're called language exchanges. That can be a really good way to talk with native speakers as well. So they're my top tips for improving your collocations, and the main one being immerse yourself in English as much as possible to improve this part of your language. Alright, that's enough for now, and let's get on to the next video.